Welcome to Journey to Wholeness, hosted by author and life coach Indiana Tuggle, where we help Christian women heal, achieve mental wellness, and spiritual growth so you can accomplish your goals and purpose.
Well, hello and welcome to Journey to Wholeness. I hope that this day finds you well. I wanted to spend some time over the next few weeks, perhaps about a month or two, talking to my singles, because unless you have been under a rock these last year or since the pandemic, you will see the frustration that has been expressed by singles far and wide, men and women, of there just being pee in the dating pool, right? And our frustrations come in many different areas. And when I'm thinking about being frustrated, I'm reminded of, or shall I say, I pulled out my second book, Saved, Single, and Frustrated. And I wrote this book in 2014. And the very first chapter is called Releasing the Frustration. And as I was reading through that last night, I realized that many of the frustrations that I had 7, almost 8 years ago, we're still having those same frustrations, right? And it had me to thinking that it's not going away. It's not going to change. So what has to happen is we have to change, right? So, but before we can even change, we do have to learn how to release those frustrations. And for me, I don't know about y'all, but for me, the frustrations come in several areas, right? The first frustration is that we feel like we're ready. Right? We're ready for a relationship. We're ready for that good thing to come into our lives. We've done the work, right? We've been on our healing journey. We've been bettering ourselves. We've been reading books. Some of us have gotten degrees. I mean, we have increased our mental health and our mental well-being. We are nurturing relationships in our lives. I talked about how I call myself a good girl. I am a good girl, right? We've been abstinent. Some of us have been saving ourselves for marriage for years. You know, we're educated. We got degrees. We own our own home. We own our own vehicles. You know, independent, but not so independent to where we feel like we don't need or want a man. You know, we have no drama. If we have kids, you know, we are parenting them well. You know, we've created a safe parenting relationship or a good co-parenting relationship with the children of our with the fathers of our children. You know, we are attractive. You know, I'm a plus size woman, but I'm a BBW, you know, and we have our own fashion. We are getting out the house. You know, we outside now. At first we was, you know, in home, stuck in the routine of work, home, and church, you know, but we're getting outside. We still kind of a homebody. However, we get outside, you know, on occasion. I know myself personally, I'm usually out and about at least 2 to 3 times a month intentionally, you know, and by intentionally, you know, going to events, you know, going to live music videos, going to comedy clubs and parks and movies and plays and concerts and enjoying life with myself and my girlfriends, you know, traveling. We're outside. We're not just in the house every single day like people think we are, right? And we don't understand why we're still single, right? So that's one frustration. We ready. But seems like the temperature of the pool is just warm for no reason because it's pee in it, and it's not warm because there are eligible bodies in there, right? And then another area of frustration is that we're tired of the selection, right? We're tired of the meeting the brother that is super busy, right? I know for me, I meet a man. Yes, we want a man who is going to provide for us and that is financially stable. However, we also want a man who has work-life balance. It is a 100% turnoff when I meet a guy and he tells me I work 7 days a week. That's not a flex, sir. Because if you work 7 days a week, when are you going to have time to nurture this relationship? Because what you're telling me is, or what I hear is that if you're working 7 days a week, then you're only going to have time for a booty call. When you get home at 9-10 o'clock at night, then you're going to have time to slide through, or you want me to slide through. And we not doing no booty call. Right? I'm too old for booty calls, right? So that's another thing. Then we're tired of the nothing brother. You know, the one who ain't got none, don't want none, still living with his mama, got baby mama drama, still paying back child support, no car, no house, holding on to childhood dreams, don't even have a plan for his life, don't know where he going, but want you to go with the flow. Look, where we flowing? Right? And then, he out here, just being a dog. And by being a dog, I'm not saying that you don't have the right to date multiple people, because you do. We're single, and single means not married. So as long as you're not married, you're free to date who you want to date. But the key is be honest about it. And don't have other people thinking that you're exclusive, thinking that you're in a committed relationship with them when you're really out here being with multiple people. That's dishonesty. Be honest about. Give the other person the opportunity to decide if they want to be part of your team. Right? You are free to play the game. However, I don't have to be a part of your game willingly, right? I have a decision to make too. I have a choice too, right? So we're tired of the player who don't want to let us know that we part of the game. Because bottom line is there are women out there who don't want committed relationships either. Right? They just want to date and enjoy life with whomever at the time. And y'all would be perfect together. But instead, you want to lie because you know that lie is going to get you what you want. It's going to get that woman who is going to cater to you, who is going to have sex with you consistently, right? Who is going to be your support system. You can't get all of that from her if you don't commit to her, or at least pretend that you're committed to her, right? Because you know that even in your playing, even in your inability to commit, even in your desire to not be monogamous, you still want a good partner. And a good partner does not come without commitment. That's bottom line. Men know that, right? So rather than say, I don't want to be monogamous, I don't want to be in a committed relationship, they got to tell you what you want to hear, right? Because it's benefiting to them. Right? So we're frustrated with that. We're frustrated with dealing with people who lack honesty, who lack integrity. Right? And then another thing we are tired of is the people who are just loud and wrong. My theory is that the good men and the good women are at the house chilling, right? They are not out here in the clubs, in the streets, they at home working. Working on their dreams, working on their goals, working on their mental well-being, working on their spiritual growth and their spiritual development. They not really loud on social media, talking about this, that, and the other, getting involved in all of the conversations. So when we're trying to date on the dating apps, we happen to gravitate towards the noise. I've always said that if you, whenever you decide to allow your spirit man to be silent, you by default allow your flesh to guide you. And so what's happening is we are allowing our desire for love, our desire for a mate, our desire for someone who is pleasing, super pleasing to our eyes to guide us. So when we're going out on these dating apps, the one who is loud, the one who is bold, telling you, I'm a good woman, I'm a good man, where all the good people at, and flaunting their body, showing you every curve that they got, you gravitating toward that because that's what your flesh wants. However, your spirit man wants something real, and they're conflicting. You're not talking about that. You're not gravitating towards what's real, because what's real is quiet. What's real doesn't have to talk loud. What's real is moving by action, not by spot. They're not just talking a good game. They are a good game. So a lot of times that is conflicting. Right? So I've often wondered why, when I go on dating apps, why I haven't met anybody good on there. And it's because the good people are frustrated with all of the trash that's coming at them, all of the fake profiles that's coming at them. I've been met with so many guys who are just in prison on these dating apps. Right? And even if you decided that, okay, I'll go on an app and I'll pay money, so that I can get a better quality, that's a lie too. Because there still is no better quality when you pay. Right? So it's like, you're darned if you do, darned if you don't. So I had to learn that I have to control that. Right? I have to control what I'm accepting. Right? And then another thing that we're frustrated about is all of the gurus, no rules, experts, married people that's giving this biased advice, or shall I say this regurgitated advice. Right? You need to wear more makeup, less makeup, more clothing, less clothing, tight clothing, lose weight, gain weight, dress in this type of fashion, go to the club, don't go to the club, drink, don't drink, smoke, don't smoke. I mean, lower your standards are unrealistic. And then you got the married women trying to change your mind, telling you how tough marriage is. And we have this delusion of grandeur when it comes to marriage. Y'all think marriage is a fairy tale. No, you thought marriage was a fairy tale. When you got in it, you chose wrong. You settled. So now you trying to prevent us from doing the same thing. No. You trying to get company in your misery is what you're doing. Or you trying to speak negativity over my marriage because yours not working out, because you feel stuck, because you chose the wrong one. He cheated, you cheated, right? the kids the only thing holding y'all together. No. We know it's not a fairy tale. We know marriage takes work, right? But what we're saying is give us the opportunity to choose who we want. Our standards are our standards. Your standards are your standards. And my favorite quote that I put out there that people get mad is, stop telling me how to get a man. I don't want who you got. And let's be honest, there's no real relationship goals out there. Not if you're looking on social media or if you're looking at celebrities. There is no relationship that I've seen that I would want to model mine after. None. Because a lot of them are staying too long, taking too much, right? And compromising on the wrong freaking thing. We don't want that. I don't want that, right? And then you got the married people out here acting like they single. We got married men filling up the dating sites and the dating apps, right? And or they married but separated. No. Close that door before you go try to open a new one. And then they have all these excuses of why they're not divorced, like the finances or the kids. Well, if you don't have enough money to get a divorce, how you gonna have enough money to come over here and be head of my household? Make it make sense, right? If you a deadbeat daddy, if you can't take care of your flesh and blood, how you gonna take care of somebody else? Right? And so, the source of our frustration is also about constantly having to explain why we are single. Like, what you want us to say? What answer is going to appease your curiosity? Do you want us to give you a list of inadequacies or mistakes of the past? Of how we mean and can't get along with nobody? Do you want us to profess to you, why dating us is such a bad idea? Right? Because a lot of times the relationship that they're telling us that we need, right? The same reason that they in a relationship is the reason why we're not in one. Right? It's because it's just not the season. And for some, it's because we don't want what we see you got. Right? I have seen more of what I don't want in a lot of people than what I do want. Right? It's been a lot of the relationships that I see modeled before us has made me more grateful for my singleness, because I refuse to settle and to be miserable than to just be with somebody just to say I got a man. I'm too old for that. I am 46 this year. I am too old to just be settled, to settle for a piece of man. I ain't gonna be able to do it. My wholeness won't allow me to do it. Right? What I settled for in brokenness now disgusts me. So I can't, even if I wanted to, for a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months. That's as long as it can go. Right? I just can't. My God won't allow me to. I know what settling looks like. I know what that unhappiness feels like. I know what unappreciation feels like. I know what being cheated on feels like. Right? I know what being the ride or die chick, or the giving myself up or losing myself in a relationship feels like. I know what that feels like. And I was in relationships and still lonely, still crying myself asleep, still feeling unappreciated, still feeling unworthy. Right? Why would I settle for that? Again, I know what that world leads to. Why would I settle for that? And now, on occasion, when I'm lonely, I might cry myself to sleep. But that's so few and far between. Right? Purpose keeps me so busy that I don't really have time for it. I'm in and out of the dating pool. Right? So I wanted to, before I get out of here, I wanted to say, learn how to swim before you get in the pool. If we're constantly complaining about pee being in the pool, learn how to swim before you get in the pool. And what I mean by that is know who you are and what you want before you go out here dating blind. Right? Because at the end of the day, you control that. I don't care what anybody says. You are not who you attract. You are what you keep. Right? You cannot stop someone from coming up to you, telling you how beautiful you are, asking for your phone number, asking to take you out. People don't walk around with signs on their forehead. If they did, we would all be in good relationships. Right? But what you have to learn is if you don't know who you are, you won't know who you need. And relationships is about meeting the needs of each other, right? So I want to leave you with 8 questions that you need to ponder on. Get out your journal, write them down, and really answer these questions before you go out here trying to date. Because if you continually finding yourself in relationships with people that you don't want to be in relationships with, then it's time for you to review your vetting process. Because everybody doesn't deserve your presence. Everybody doesn't deserve your conversation. Right? You have to learn to vet people, right? And the first question you need to ask yourself is, what do you value and why? What consistently drives your behaviors and your actions? Because you should be finding somebody who has the same values as you, right? The second question is, what are your standards and why? You should be gravitating towards what makes you feel loved, appreciated, and safe, right? Your standards should not be rooted in attractiveness and materialistic things. Your standards should be in the core of, again, what makes you feel loved, appreciated, and safe. The third questions that you need to ask is, what are your preferences and why? Right? I know people tell us that you will get 80% of what you want and 20% of you won't get it. But at the same time, there should be some things that you get that will put some icing on the cake that will make you be like, oh, God, you did that. Right? Because bottom line, nobody wants to be in a relationship with that nobody they're not attracted to. Now, attractiveness is subjective. Right? There, as a plus size woman, I have to be okay with, there are some men that don't like plus size women. Cool. I don't like you either. I want who wants me. Right? So, but that your preferences, you shouldn't feel bad about your preferences. We all have them. Right? The fourth question is, what are your deal breakers? And why? The reason that I keep asking why is because a lot of times we will say stuff, but then we don't know what it's rooted in. Because a lot of times we're walking around trying to prevent hurt and pain and a repeat of what we've been through in the past. When in reality, we need to hone in on what's going to make us happy. Right? And those deal breakers will help you understand that, right? And sometimes our deal breakers are rooted in what we're trying, a deficit that we're trying to fill in our own lives, right? One of my deal breakers was someone being a man of the word, right? You got to do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Nothing wrong with that. However, it was rooted in the fact that I didn't have a father in my life, and I was trying to make every man pay for what my daddy didn't do. My daddy wasn't consistent. So I had to learn how to allow a man to be who they are. But at the same time, knowing that, hey, if you lack integrity, that's a deal breaker for me. Right? And then your fifth question is, what do all of what I just said look like in someone else? Because it's easy to write down you want somebody faithful. You want somebody who is going to be honest. But what does that look like? Because faithfulness shows itself long before somebody cheats. They can be, unfaithful in other areas of their lives. Like how you were saying you want somebody who is honest, but you watching them cheat on their taxes every year. You watching them go to work and lie on their time clock. Right? Things like that show themselves and prove whether or not somebody is going to be faithful. If they can't be faithful to God, who watching them every day, then how they gonna be faithful to you? Right? And be specific about it. And then the seventh question is, what things and people are important in your life and why? You need to know who and what has your attention and influence, because we all have that in our lives. And when you come into a relationship, you have to be willing to make that person a priority. Right? So you need to know where that person is going to fit in your life and if you're going to have room for them. That's why I don't like when men say I make time for what I want. Then clearly I'm not what you want. Or clearly it ain't even about me. Clearly a relationship is not what you want. Because if you wanted a relationship, you would make time in your life for it now. You can't tell me you working 7 days a week and you want a relationship. When are you going to fit building and nurturing that relationship in? When you meet the person? No, none of us can change our behavior overnight. So what's going to happen is you're going to meet that person and you're going to abuse that person for at least the first 90 days. And guess what? Most of us going to be gone in 90 days if you're not giving us no attention. You ain't going to have time to make no change. So why you can't make a change in your life now? Why you can't pursue work-life balance now? Women, we do it all the time. Right? And then the last question, what are your boundaries? And why? Your boundaries are put in place to ensure your well-being mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You need to be willing to stand on those boundaries no matter what and walk away from anybody who is not in alignment with you. Because bottom line, dating is about getting to know someone else and allowing them to get to know you. The problem with the dating pool and the reason we're all frustrated is because we want to rush and get into a relationship. We're tired of being alone. Right? And you cannot meet nobody today and be in a relationship with them next week. It don't work like that. You have to give yourself time to get to know people and for them to get to know you. Another thing that I wrote down is, what do I want people to want him to know about me? And what do I want to know about him? Right? You have to do that. And you have to do that through dating. People kills me asking this question of, could a man, why we not getting back to house dates, having picnics at home, Netflix and chilling? Look here. That's not dating. You need to be able to see people in all seasons. And the way that you do that is through how they interact with other people. It's easy to be on your best behavior and be attentive and all lovey-dovey and romantic in the house on the couch. And then that's relationship stuff. We just met. Our first date can't be in the house. We got to be outside. Right? So stop trying to rush the relationship and take your time to get to know people. And vice versa. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, and join me back next week because we're going to talk more. Have a good day.
You have been listening to Journey to Wholeness, brought to you by Indie Writes, a spiritual growth and development company that helps you write your way to success and wholeness in every area of your life. We specialize in books and journals that promote mental wellness and Christian growth. Our journals provide inspirational articles, motivational quotes, biblical guidance, writing prompts to release your feelings, fears, and thoughts, as well as strategies for success to tackle your goals and pursue your purpose. Visit our website and join our mailing list at www.indiewrites.com to learn more.